Now ain't she sweet? See her coming down the street. I ask you confidentially, ain't she sweet?
Hi, I'm Diana Montford, the world's first transgender television journalist. Born male, became female, oh my. Anyway, my guest is the wonderful lesbian activist, filmmaker, photographer, poet, artist, Ms. Lucia Cammarata. We are doing, yes, another COVID show, and we want to talk to you, and I'm sure you know about this, about getting out the vote. You know how important all elections are, but this election is truly important. Indeed, the soul of our country, and maybe the world, is on the line. We have to vote. We have to. We have no choice. And we have to vote for Joe Biden. We cannot vote for Kanye West. We cannot vote for, write-in a write-in candidate trying to be humorous, like writing in Mickey Mouse or something. We must vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We, the LGBTQ community, and people who are friends of our community, if you're cisgender but watching this show, you probably like the LGBTQ community, or at least are curious about it. I urge you, I beg you, vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and we must vote. You cannot not vote. This is desperately important. Am I right?
Basically, your life depends on this election. Not just your life necessarily as a member of the LGBTQ community, but your life as a member of the human community. Mr. Trump, if he is elected a second term, will wreak havoc upon our democracy. It will not survive his second term. In fact, it's barely surviving his first. And he is trying to delegitimize it in the advance of the election, calling the election a fraud, that he wants to stop the count before the mail-in ballots are in, because he feels that his people will come to the polls in swaths, in large numbers.
Excuse me, Trump actually said, and this is on YouTube, if I lose the election, and this is a direct quote, if I lose the election, my people will cause great trouble, or words to that effect. It's not a direct quote, but of course what Trump says goes in one ear and out the other, because I am so tired of Trump's lies, his
Yeah, but Diana, I beg to differ. He has incited violence across his people against our people, in quotes.
All our people.
Against our people. That's why I'm saying that the balance of the human race, the balance of democracy, the balance of humanity is on a thread in this election. The thread could be severed, and that could be the end of civility, civilization, humanity, and all of that.
Not to mention...
And also, he is also trying to incite a civil war if he doesn't win the election. He will call it a fraudulent election, and he will incite his people, which are the Boogaloo Boys and the patriotic prayer people, or the Pray Patriots, or whatever they're called, prayer patriots, to take to the streets armed, heavily armed, with repeating automatic weaponry that is unacceptable in a civil society. There is no reason why a civilian needs to be armed with a weapon of war. There is no reason for that. There is no reason, considering that we were, before Mr. Trump took office, a country that was in fact one of peacefulness, of inclusivity, of diversity, and all of that.
Well, we were to a degree, but we did not. When Obama, who was great, was elected, we thought, or many people thought, that we were in a post-race society, and we saw the same people who later voted for Trump say appalling things about the Obamas, about democracy in general, And, I mean...
Yes, but Diana, given that Mr. Trump has framed that argument against the Obamas, he framed it with the birther conspiracy.
Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, how silly.
But it's not silly, Diana. It's detrimental.
No, but I mean, it is silly of Trump to think that we are so credulous that we would believe that.
Yes, but a large swath of people did believe it and voted for it. I know it was not the 3 million votes, it was the Electoral College, but the thing is he was able to evince a victory using that dog whistle, using that racism, using that xenophobia, and he's trying the same thing again. Now he's trying the fear of unrest in the cities, urban unrest, urban unrest, urban unrest.
But he's the one who started it.
Of course he started it, and that's the fallacy of his campaign ads. Oh, we need a president who can stop this, but he's the president who created it.
Yeah, hello. And he throws gasoline on the fire.
And he's the president right now. So why is he making campaign ads about how he can stop it if he's not stopping it right now? Why do we have to wait till he's reelected to stop it?
No,
because
he won't be reelected. He cannot be reelected. But anyway, now they have invented false stories about the Democratic Party. You were telling me earlier that they say that, what is that noise?
It's my phone,
Her phone, her
Yeah.
phone. Anyway, she's looking at her phone. It made an odd noise like a motorcycle revving up. But anyway, look, you know, you are going to hear all sorts of outlandish stories about Democrats involving, well, like Pizzagate, that ridiculous idea that there was an underground chamber beneath a Washington pizza restaurant and that Hillary and her friends did terrible things to children down there. That is not true. The Democrats are not, you know...
Satanic, they're not a cabal of satanic
No.
pedophiles.
Or satanic anything.
But it's pretty funny because if you look at it, if you look at the indictments, if you look at the convictions, and if you look at the people who have had to close out their campaigns because of ethics or because of ethical violations, have to step down from Congress or the Senate, it's usually Republicans who do that. The only exception was Al Franken, and he was tarred and feathered for no reason. You know?
That was terrible, yes.
That was terrible.
But anyway, you know, we need in the LGBTQ community self-determination. That is our raison d'etre. We must have it. That is how we survive as queer folk. And as you know, Trump is brutally opposed to the transgender community. And there's that old poem about until they came for me. So if you're gay but you're not trans, and you think, well, I'm a rich white gay man, nobody can hurt me. Think again, they thought that during the Nazi regime. So I mean,
Diana,
what?
Diana, I understand that you want to address the community. But the thing is, it's not just the community, our community.
No, I am aware of that.
The LGBTQ community that is going to suffer. It's not just gay people across the board, lesbians across the board, transgendered across the board, bisexuals across the board. It's human beings across the board, men and women.
We all realize that, but
I
we
know.
are addressing our community.
But we need to, when we're addressing our community, for our community to understand that the stakes are not just for us, but for humanity and democracy.
I think everyone gets the picture.
I know, but it needs to be stated, Diana, whether they get the picture or not. And sometimes it is important to elucidate, to make very perfectly clear what the stakes are.
I'm pretty sure that most people who are not white supremacist neo-fascists are well aware of the fact that Trump is, and that we have to be ever vigilant, and every generation has to fight the fight to keep democracy going. We thought, well, we're safe now, and we're never safe. We always have to fight to keep democracy in place, and that's the way it is.
It's pretty funny. If you think about Mr. Trump and his embrace of Roy Cohn, and I have
There's
here
an
in my
interesting
list,
mental picture, his embrace of Roy Cohn.
I have here in my hand a list,
Oh, you do?
and that's Roy Cohn.
Oh.
And the decimation of the political conversation during the 1950s, and the
Yes, of course. We all know that.
and the character assassinations. That's what.
Well, that's-
Listen to me. Mr. Trump has character assassinated his whole presidency, his whole life. He's character assassinated everyone except for him, and Ivanka and Jared and Donnie and Eric, and maybe Melania and Barron, but they're iffy. But he is trained, and he propagates character assassination. He's doing that to Kamala Harris. He's doing that to Joe Biden. He's doing that to the Squad, to AOC, to this one, to that one, to the other one. He did it to Hillary Clinton. He did it to James Comey.
Let's talk about wonderful AOC, Ocasio-Cortez, who I think is the wave of the future, who I think will, 60% of the wealth on Earth, I think, is concentrated among about 5 families. That's
it's
not
it's
right.
99% of the wealth is in the 1%.
Oh, I see. But anyway, there has to be a redistribution of the wealth. I'm not saying take away people's luxuries, the fruits of their hard work, no. But I am saying there can't be the very rich and everyone else, because then we have France in 1789, then we have Russia in 1917. You cannot have a few people running everything and everyone else a helpless, hopeless serf. That doesn't work. Surf's up, but I mean, you can't do that. So I think AOC and other progressive folk are on the right track, and I do think it's the wave of the future. I do, because I think, you cannot indenture young people to a lifetime of debt just so they can go to college. When other countries give free tuition, you cannot consider medical care a privilege when it should be a right if you have any human decency.
Okay, but hold up right there. When we're talking about privilege and rights,
Yes.
the Republican Party, embodied by the figurehead Trump, believe that voting is a privilege, not a right. However, it is enshrined in our Constitution that we have the right to vote, that is the linchpin, the kingpin of a functioning democracy. However, the Republicans, with their gerrymandering, their purging of the voter rolls, their decimation of the post office, they are telling us that voting is a privilege, not a right. Just like, as you said before, healthcare is a privilege, not a right. Now they're telling us that fundamental early education, elementary education, elementary public education is not a privilege, is not a right, it's a privilege. So what we're doing is we are in fact allowing our country to be hijacked by an oligarchy. And that's pretty funny.
We're not allowing it. It has happened. It has happened.
Well, it happened because somehow we allowed it, because we were too complacent, because we closed
Well, I think
our
also
eyes.
we took for granted that most people had some grain of human decency, and we never counted on gangsters such as the ones who are running our country right now, and that is why...
And that is why we have to be aware of protecting the vote, of going out to vote. And
There's another phone, my goodness. They're ringing the phone.
we'll stop that. And
Yes.
yeah, you want to pick up the phone, and
I will be right back.
And then we'll. I'm gonna.
Oh, okay.
Let me see.
That's her phone. We're shooting in Lucia.
Hello?
Lucia, we're on the air.
Attention, this is Grace Gibbons, your account specialist.
was a robocall.
It was a robocall. Okay, I stopped at 11:13.
Oh, we should have kept that in.
What is it? I didn't stop that. I just stopped the timer.
It's a slice of life. This is welcome to our world with phones ringing and robocalls.
About debt forgiveness.
Yes,
And it's
and
pretty-
she's not in debt, and neither am I. So there you go.
But you know what's interesting about that phone call about debt forgiveness?
What?
Is they want to restructure your debt. They don't want to forgive it. They want to restructure it.
Oh, never mind. Don't give them any press. But anyway, you must vote. It's so important. Please vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And just, I mean, please. This is getting so crazy. Our country is so insane. And the police shooting people for living while black. What is that? That is wrong. That is, it's against God, in my opinion. You can't shoot people just because you can shoot people. People are not fish in a barrel,
Let's remove God from the
Well,
equation.
you remove God. I believe in God, so.
Yes, I know, but
Are you an atheist?
it really doesn't matter right now whether I'm an atheist or not. What
That
matters
must mean yes.
that, Diana, you're making an assumption, and you're also not letting me finish my thought, which is that this is a secular nation, and yet Mr. Trump and his lackeys and his evangelicals want to make it a Christian nation, and they want to exclude all other religions, which is pretty funny because Jared is a Jew, and so is Ivanka now. But the thing is, they want to make it a Christian nation, and I have to say
They don't like Catholics any better than they like Jews, and they don't like Muslims. They don't like anyone.
But it's a Christian nation. They don't like Catholics, but they like evangelicals. But let me tell you something else.
Do.
Mr. Putin has had 3 or 4 months ago declared that Russia was a theocratic state, that Russian Christian Orthodoxy was the state religion, and that it was Russia was a theocratic state. Now that's pretty funny. Because it seems to me that capital and religion do not really go together except to hoodwink the masses, number one. And number two, poor Karl Marx, poor Lenin, poor Stalin, poor Trotsky,
Poor Groucho Marx.
poor Andrei Nevsky,
Oh.
they're all turning in their graves. That the pinnacle of their dream, the Soviet state, is now devolved into an oligarchy, a hegemony,
Sort of what it was under the Tsar.
and a theocratic state, as if it had returned to Tsarist Russia.
There you
It's
go.
just that the Tsar is Putin and his little friends who have all the money and the oil money and all of that.
Lucia insists on calling Putin Poutin, like whore in French. She likes that.
Now, the second thing is,
Do you like French whores?
now the second thing is that is leaching into American politics, where Mr. Trump courts the evangelicals, even though he has no faith of his own. He held his Bible upside down, which seems to me the sign
After
of
he tear gassed the sincere
which also
worshippers.
seems to me the sign of a Satanist, if you want to talk about Satan's cabals, holding the Bible upside down. And also, he wants to instill in our democracy a Christian state. He wants to fund religious schools, but not madrasas and not yeshivas, but Christian schools. So religious schools are Christian schools to the detriment of public education. And he is doing the same thing that Mr. Putin is doing, and it will happen here. And the end of democracy, it's the death of democracy if we re-elect him. So just be vigilant. Make sure you cast your ballot. If you can go to the polls in person, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Wear a mask, wear a face guard, wear gloves, but just vote. Make sure you vote. Make sure your vote is counted. Make sure you're registered to vote way in advance so that there's no snafu at the polling place or snafu when you get your mail-in ballot. Make sure you mail in your ballot immediately. Do not wait.
We should stop haranguing people. I think they get the point.
No, they don't get the point.
Oh.
Diana, we have to reinstill it and reinform them and tell them over and over again. Our democracy is hanging on a thread. Our livelihoods are hanging on a thread. You think that we cannot be corralled into camps. We cannot be corralled into genocide. Look at this. Mr. Trump has allowed genocide of almost 200,000 Americans so far because he could not relate to Americans' fear and
Wait. How has he? What genocide of 200,000 people?
because of COVID, because he did not, because he did not step to the plate and rein in COVID, because he did not enforce a total country mask and social distancing program.
How much time do we have?
5:46. So anyway, so as I was saying,
5 minutes and 46 seconds.
and of course, because COVID affects the minority population largest, it is fine to slough them off, to let them go die by themselves. And in the mix, we can cut Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security so we can get rid of those pesky voters who seem to vote Democratic anyway. So yes, it is a genocide. It is conscious, it is contrived, and it is constructed by the Republicans with the figurehead of Mr. Trump.
And you thought this was just going to be a nice, calm little show. But anyway, yes, I'm sorry, and we must defeat Trump at the polls. And what we have to watch out for is the Electoral College. As you know, they stole the election from Hillary, who got 3 million more popular votes than the Trump thing. And in the year 2001, I believe, they stole the election from Al Gore and gave it to W, the decider-in-chief. You remember him. He of waterboarding and torture fame. So, yes.
Yeah, I know, but actually looking at back at his tenure, it's not as bad.
Let me tell you something. When I was a little kid, I thought Nixon was the worst president we could ever have. Surprise! Then years later, I thought W was the worst president we could ever have. Surprise! Now I think Trump is the worst president we can have. Please God, no more surprises. I get the message. Whoa. I mean, hello. So anyway, so how much time do we have?
3:55.
3 minutes and 55 seconds. It's like that scene in The Wizard of Oz where the witch turns the hourglass over. Ta-dun, ta-dun, ta-da-da. Oh, dear.
Or Monty Python, a minute passed, and then a minute passed, and then a minute passed.
Well, anyway, you just never know when to expect the Spanish Inquisition. But anyway, did I mention I'm half Spanish? But anyway, this is not a shortcut to popularity, you know? I mean, mentioning the Spanish Inquisition. But anyway, and I won't mention Mussolini or anything, I promise.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. My people escaped Mussolini.
There you go. And my grandfather was one of the founders of the Spanish Republic. Damn the way I brag about that old guy, have you noticed? I'm proving what an intelligent person I am, actually, by mentioning my dead grandfather. But anyway, of course, I might be adopted. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I look too much like my parents, and I'm as crazy as they are. But anyway, vote. Do yourself a favor, and be happy, and live, and laugh, and love, and enjoy yourself, and eat the bowl of ice cream. Go on. Eat the cookies. What the hell? I mean, you know, we're all going to be dead a long time. Have a blast. You know?
No.
No?
You shouldn't say have a blast.
Oh.
Because that is obscuring the dire situation that we're in.
No, I mean after you voted, have a blast. Have fun. I shouldn't say a blast because that could mean a nuclear holocaust. Eek.
Or it could mean that the yahoos, or rather his militia, come and descend upon the innocent citizens.
That would be us.
Us who had the audacity to vote him out of office.
But anyway, whatever. I mean, look, you know.
Diana, the threat of civil war is real.
I know. But here's my point. Throughout time, we've always thought, oh my God, this is a terrible time. And everything always works out in the end. One way or another, it always works out.
Yeah, tell it to the Jews. They all died. Most of them died. But it worked out in the end because they got Israel. But that didn't make up for the 3 million who were dead.
6 million.
6 million, sorry.
Yeah.
And 3 million communists. And
Yes,
gay
I
people.
know. I'm
gay
well
people.
aware of that.
And
Yes.
gay people.
And gay people, that little big
and
triangle.
the Roma.
The machines, the gypsies. But anyway, look, life sucks no matter what you do. So do your best and whatever, you know? I mean, what can I tell you, right?
There isn't anything you can say.
Yeah. Well, how much time do we have? We have 1 minute.
1 minute.
Okay. Well, anyway, my guest has been the exceedingly opinionated but quite brilliant Ms. Lucia Cammarata, who is an artist, filmmaker. We're shooting at her loft. It's a COVID show, you know. Studios are closed, but we're having a blast here. She's a filmmaker, poet, founder of the League of Disabled Lesbians, which she has MS. But she's great. She never lets it slow her down. I'm Diana Montford. This has been the Diana Montford Show. I love you no matter how you vote. I love you because I love you. So there you go. Anyway, and see you next time. And be good and take care of yourself. I love you a lot. Bye.
Okay, have a good vote. Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to try to vote in person. And if you vote by mail, do it early.
There you go. Love you. Bye.
Okay, she loves you, and I'm concerned.
I get the last
you.
word, bitch.
And
Okay,
I'm
love
concerned.
you. Bye.
And I'm concerned.
Yeah, I get the last word. Bye.
Now ain't she sweet? See her coming down the street. I ask you confidentially, ain't she sweet?